Stop chasing people who aren't chasing themselves right now. Take a moment and really feel this. Countless men spend years trying to win over women who are emotionally unavailable, constantly seeking validation or testing boundaries without understanding the deeper dynamics at play. They give energy, attention, and effort to someone who isn't ready to value themselves. And in doing so, they slowly lose their own sense of worth. What separates a man who attracts effortlessly from one who struggles isn't his appearance, his bank account, or even his surface confidence. It's something far subtler, far more powerful. The ability to set boundaries and refuse to compromise on what truly matters. The men who command attraction do so not because they chase, but because they consistently refuse to lower their standards. They refuse to bend for temporary approval, to accept disrespect, or to play along with games designed to manipulate them. The women, who notice them, desire them, and eventually become emotionally invested, aren't drawn to their gifts, compliments, or attention. They are drawn to what these men refuse to give. There is clarity and magnetism in refusal. A smart man doesn't bend for anyone. He understands that his value isn't measured by the attention he gives, but by the attention he reserves for himself. Imagine a woman texting late at night, testing whether you'll drop everything to respond. Most men panic. They answer immediately, hoping to avoid her disapproval. A man who truly understands human dynamics doesn't react out of fear. He lives his life, communicates on his own terms, and responds when it aligns with his priorities. That delay, that calm refusal to be pulled off course, sends a message louder than any words could. I am not yours to control, and my life moves on my schedule. Women track these subtle cues unconsciously. Every concession a man makes, every boundary he fails to hold, signals something about his self-respect. Every refusal he maintains shapes her perception, portraying him as rare, confident, and valuable. Attraction isn't created by availability. It's born from scarcity. The moment you make yourself too accessible, too eager, too easily swayed, desire begins to fade. High-value men understand these invisible rules and live by them, not arrogantly, not cruelly, but with quiet, unwavering consistency. This principle applies not just in romantic contexts, but in social dynamics and professional relationships too. If someone disrespects you in public or dismisses your perspective, a high-value man doesn't argue or plead. He disengages calmly with quiet certainty. This act triggers something primal. It awakens curiosity, sparks reevaluation, and in ways most men can't comprehend, ignites attraction. Women notice when a man maintains dignity under pressure, and that dignity is magnetic. Refusal isn't about stubbornness or cruelty. It's about self-mastery. It's about aligning actions with principles and refusing to sacrifice one's essence for temporary approval. High value men also refuse to settle for partners who do not challenge them intellectually, emotionally, or morally. They understand that respect and desire cannot be demanded or handed away recklessly. Each refusal builds an invisible power, strength, independence, and control that women instinctively recognize, often without realizing why. Every time a man gives in to pressure, compromises his boundaries, or prioritizes someone else's approval over his own growth, he sends subtle signals of low value. Conversely, every refusal signals strength, self-respect, and independence. High-value men attract not because they chase, but because they refuse to diminish themselves for anyone. This principle applies universally to friends, colleagues, business relationships, and every interaction that tests boundaries. Start with awareness. Identify one area where you have been compromising unnecessarily. Maybe it's responding instantly to every text, saying yes to requests that drain your energy, or bending to social pressure you didn't fully agree with. Decide firmly today that this will no longer happen. Refuse politely but consistently. Watch as dynamics shift around you, as attention changes and as respect deepens naturally. Attraction is subtle. It's invisible. It's not built on flashy gestures or constant attention. It is built on refusal, on saying no to what diminishes your value. There are 4 areas in particular where a high-value man instinctively refuses, and each refusal triggers deep, almost magnetic responses. The first is time. Time is your most valuable currency, and how you spend it signals your priorities. When you refuse to drop everything for someone who doesn't respect your schedule, you spark curiosity. She wonders why you are different. That mystery creates desire. Your attention is earned, not freely given. The second refusal a high-value man maintains is the refusal to tolerate disrespect or manipulation. This doesn't mean engaging in arguments or fights. It means quiet consistency. Subtle digs, emotional tests, and manipulative tactics are common ways people gauge how much control they can exert. A smart man doesn't react out of guilt, fear, or obligation. He calmly reinforces boundaries or disengages without drama, without pleading. Why does this work? Women track these cues unconsciously. They notice which men are reliable, predictable, and grounded versus those who can be swayed by every small challenge. Disrespect is a test, and refusal to compromise signals strength. It triggers curiosity, interest, and a subtle reevaluation of value. When she senses your stability and emotional maturity, her interest deepens. Naturally, she begins to see you as someone rare, someone steady, someone worth her attention, not because of your words, but because of your presence and the way you protect yourself. The third refusal is refusing to chase validation or approval. This is a critical distinction. Many men seek constant reassurance. They need compliments, acknowledgement, or reminders that they are desirable, capable, or worthy. This constant need creates tension, doubt, and even subtle boredom. A man who refuses to chase validation radiates confidence because his sense of self-worth comes from within. He doesn't need someone else to confirm his value. He already knows it. When a man operates from this internal validation, women feel it subconsciously. It triggers curiosity. They notice that he stands apart, that he doesn't react to flattery or criticism in predictable ways. This independence, this internal strength, draws them in without conscious effort. They begin to pursue him, often without realizing why. It's not manipulation. It's natural attraction responding to quiet self-mastery. The fourth refusal is the refusal to settle for superficial connections. High-value men are selective with their energy. They don't invest in people who drain them, disrespect them, or fail to challenge them intellectually, emotionally, or morally. This selectivity signals high standards, self-respect, and long-term stability, qualities that women are instinctively wired to seek. Superficial connections do not create tension, curiosity, or deep emotional engagement. By refusing to engage with the ordinary or shallow, you create an invisible gravitational pull. She begins to wonder why you are different, why you are not like everyone else. That curiosity turns into emotional investment, which over time can evolve into attraction, fascination, and even obsession, all without overt effort on your part. It's important to understand that these refusals are not passive. They are conscious, deliberate choices that shape perception. Each time you hold a boundary, protect your time, refuse validation, or withdraw from shallow interactions, you are sending subtle signals. You are showing that your life, your attention, and your energy cannot be taken for granted. Every consistent refusal reinforces your value and creates an emotional imprint in her mind. Here's what happens in her subconscious. When you maintain these refusals consistently, her emotions begin to change quietly. Every boundary you hold, every refusal you make, rewires how she perceives you. She starts to notice small, almost invisible actions, how you respond, how you stay consistent, how you don't give in to minor tests. These observations form a mental pattern, a sense of intrigue and rarity. She begins to analyze your behavior consciously or not, and starts thinking about you more often. She may try to test you further, push your limits, or even resist at first, but your consistent refusal builds tension and deepens attraction. Over time, she becomes emotionally invested, not because you forced it, but because your behavior communicates qualities she cannot easily find elsewhere. This is where most men fail. They know the rules, but do not apply them consistently. High-value men live by these principles every day. Every interaction, every message, every decision becomes an opportunity to reinforce boundaries and project the qualities of strength, independence, and quiet mystery. When executed consistently, women begin to pursue without consciously deciding to. Their curiosity spikes, desire intensifies, and emotional engagement deepens. Attraction at this level is subtle but profound. It is invisible, psychological, and deeply rooted in emotional circuitry. The moment you understand and embrace refusal as a tool, you realize it is not about arrogance or manipulation. It is about self-mastery. Every choice to protect your time, enforce respect, refuse validation, and avoid shallow connections creates a framework in her mind that compels her attention and curiosity. By now, you can start to see how these refusals, time, respect, validation, and connection combine to create a magnetic presence. The more consistently you maintain them, the more they compound into an invisible gravitational pull. Women notice sometimes without understanding why. They begin thinking about you, analyzing you, and feeling drawn to you emotionally, intellectually, and even instinctively. Consistency is the secret ingredient. Random refusals create confusion. Overly rigid refusals without empathy can cause frustration. But calm, measured, and predictable refusal signals emotional stability, strength, and integrity. Every interaction becomes a subtle reinforcement. I am my own man. My life, my attention, and my energy are mine to protect. Now that we've explored the 4 core refusals, protecting your time, enforcing respect, refusing validation, and avoiding shallow connections, it's time to understand how to apply them consistently in daily life. Knowledge alone doesn't create change. Action does. High-value men don't just understand these principles intellectually. They live them in every interaction, every decision, every moment. Start with your time, your schedule, your priorities, your energy. These are your most valuable assets. When someone tries to pull you away from your life, respond intentionally, not reflexively. That doesn't mean being cold or ignoring others entirely. It means responding on your terms. If she texts or calls when you are busy, wait until it's convenient for you. You are showing her silently but unmistakably that your life is yours, not hers to control. Over time, this builds respect and intrigue. Next, enforce respect, consistently. Disrespect can appear subtly, a sarcastic comment, a slight dig, a dismissive tone. Instead of reacting emotionally, calmly reinforce your boundaries. Step away when needed. Stand firm without anger or argument. Women sense stability and confidence. They notice when a man does not bend under pressure. That stability repeated consistently creates a gravitational pull. It awakens curiosity and makes her emotionally invested in a way that no words, gifts, or gestures could achieve. Refusing to chase validation is equally critical. Stop seeking constant approval or reassurance from her or anyone else. Your sense of self-worth must be internal, anchored in who you are and what you value. A man who does not need others to validate him radiates confidence naturally. Women notice this at a subconscious level. They are drawn to it. It sparks curiosity. Why does he not seek attention? Why does he not over-explain? Why does he hold himself apart from the crowd? That quiet independence is magnetic. Avoid superficial connections. This is about selectivity. Invest in relationships that energize you, that challenge you intellectually and emotionally, that align with your principles. Withdraw from people or interactions that drain you or compromise your values. This doesn't make you cold, it makes you rare. Women notice rarity instinctively. It signals high standards, emotional maturity, and long-term security. It is the foundation for deep attraction and connection. Consistency is the key. Random acts of refusal can confuse or frustrate. Overly rigid or harsh refusal can alienate. The secret is calm, predictable, emotionally grounded enforcement of your principles. This quiet, consistent refusal builds an invisible tension. It shapes perception. It triggers desire and curiosity without overt effort. Every interaction becomes a subtle signal. I am my own man. I cannot be controlled. My attention is earned, not given freely. Women notice these signals on a deep psychological level. They don't consciously calculate it. They feel it emotionally. Every boundary you maintain, every refusal you make compounds over time. She begins to think about you, analyze your behavior, remember your words, and feel compelled to engage with you on your terms. That is attraction at the highest level. Organic, subconscious, magnetic. This isn't about manipulation. It's about self-mastery. It's about living in alignment with your principles. Every refusal is a reinforcement of your value. Protecting your time, enforcing respect, refusing validation, and avoiding shallow connections are the building blocks of an emotional imprint she cannot forget. Over time, her curiosity grows, desire intensifies, and emotional attachment strengthens. She becomes invested because you are rare, consistent, and unshakable. Now, let's turn theory into action. Ask yourself, today, where have I been giving too much? Where have I compromised my principles for temporary approval, comfort, or attention? Choose one area, one refusal to apply immediately. Protect your time, enforce your boundaries, or withdraw from shallow or draining connections. Observe how the dynamics around you shift. Watch how attention changes. Respect grows, and your presence becomes magnetic without effort. Here's a simple framework to internalize. If I protect my time, T, enforce respect, R, refuse validation, V, and avoid superficial connections, C, my attraction power A equals T plus R plus V plus C. Evaluate each area honestly. Where have you been neglecting? Which refusal will you reinforce starting today? This is the invisible power of refusal. It doesn't rely on charm, money, looks, or effort. It relies on self-respect, consistency, and mastery over your own life. Women notice smart men because they refuse what diminishes them. The moment you consciously embrace these principles, your presence becomes rare, your energy magnetic, and your influence undeniable. Remember, this works slowly but powerfully. Obsession isn't immediate. It accumulates as she subconsciously tracks your behavior. Every boundary held, every refusal executed strengthens her emotional and psychological engagement. Over time, she begins to pursue without even realizing why. That is the quiet, profound power of a man who refuses strategically, consistently, and with clarity. Start today. Protect your time, enforce your standards, refuse unnecessary validation, and avoid shallow connections. Live intentionally, respect yourself, and watch as the dynamics of attraction, respect, and emotional investment transform naturally around you. This is mastery. This is magnetic presence.